Hi, friends. Welcome to Goddess Garden Book Chat and our reading challenge for February. 28 books, 28 days, 28 reviews. I'm having such a wonderful time, and I hope you are too. Today, we're going to do Black AF History by Michael Harriot, and I hope you've enjoyed this. I especially enjoyed the way he approached the book with the Q&As after each chapter. It really adds a little levity to some very harsh topics that are true facts about history. But without further ado, let's get into it.
Hey, Goddess Garden Book Chat. You guys rocking this 28-day book challenge, 15 down already.
Wow, yeah.
Today we're
It's impressive.
diving into this book that's been making some serious waves.
Oh, yeah.
Black AF History, The Unwhitewashed Story of America by Michael Harriot.
It's a good one.
And not only did he write this thing, but he narrates the audiobook too,
Right.
which makes it even more, I don't know.
Engaging, for sure.
Yeah, engaging and powerful.
Yeah, and it's interesting how he kind of tackles this idea of a retelling.
Yeah.
Like almost a re-education of American history, you know?
Right.
He's looking at these events that we think we know, but through a different lens, challenging that traditional narrative.
Right.
It really gets you thinking.
It's like we've been looking at this painting our whole lives, and he comes along and says,
Yeah.
hey, look closer. There's all these details you've been missing.
Totally.
Like, for example, when I learned about slavery in school, it felt very detached, you know, almost like just a chapter in a textbook. But Harriet connects it to something tangible,
Right.
something we still see the effects of today, the
Yeah.
foundation of American capitalism.
That connection is powerful.
Yeah.
He's arguing that the brutality and the exploitation of slavery weren't just morally wrong, but they were actually woven into the economic system,
Right.
laying the groundwork for all the wealth disparities we still see.
Yeah.
It's not just a dark chapter in the past. It's about understanding the roots of present-day inequality.
It's like he's saying, look, you can't understand America's economic power
Right.
without understanding the exploitation that's built into its very foundation.
Absolutely.
And he doesn't stop there.
Nope.
He takes on the civil rights movement,
Yeah.
a period we often oversimplify.
To just a handful
Yeah.
of iconic figures and speeches.
Right, exactly. We
Yeah.
focus on those big moments, the marches,
The legislation.
the legislation, but
But Harriet highlights the grassroots activism.
yes,
The everyday people who fought tirelessly for change.
absolutely.
He even dives deeper into figures like Martin Luther King Jr.,
Right.
revealing his radical views on economic justice
Yeah.
that we often overlook.
Uh-huh.
It's about understanding the movement's complexity and depth.
And it reminds us that change doesn't just happen overnight
No.
or because of a few heroic individuals. It takes sustained effort, community organizing,
Right.
and a whole lot of people pushing for a better world.
Absolutely.
You know, one of the things I really struggled with in my history classes
Oh, yeah.
was understanding Reconstruction.
Mm-hmm.
It always felt like this brief, failed attempt
Yeah.
to create a more just society after the Civil War.
Like a blip on the radar.
Yeah, like, oh, they tried, but it didn't work.
Right. And Harriet turns that perception on its head.
Okay.
He reframes Reconstruction as a time of immense possibility,
Right.
a moment of Black agency and community building.
Interesting.
He argues that it was deliberately undermined by federal policies and the rise of white supremacist violence.
So he's saying it wasn't just a failure, it was actively sabotaged.
Yeah, he presents it as this time of revolutionary potential that was actively sabotaged.
Okay, so we've got slavery, the civil rights movement, and Reconstruction.
Yeah.
But then he tackles this concept of a post-racial America,
Right.
an idea that gained traction, especially after Obama's election.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, wow, maybe we finally moved past this.
And Harriet,
Yeah.
he challenges that narrative head on.
He does.
He points to ongoing voter suppression, police brutality, and the persistent racial wealth gap as evidence that systemic racism didn't disappear, it adapted.
Okay.
It's like he's urging us to look beyond the surface and confront the reality that the fight for equality is far from over.
But I think a lot of people might be surprised to learn about events like the Tulsa Race Massacre.
Oh, absolutely.
Where a thriving black community known as Black Wall Street was destroyed by a white mob. That's not something you typically see in history books.
And that's just one example of the historical erasure that Harriot brings to light.
Yeah.
He also talks about the downplayed roles of black soldiers in wars like the Revolutionary War and World War II. These are stories of immense courage and sacrifice.
Yeah.
Stories that deserve to be told and remembered.
Absolutely. It's like he's filling in the gaps, piecing together a more complete picture of American history, one that includes the voices and experiences that have been systematically silenced. But it's not just about uncovering these hidden truths, right? There's something really unique about how he encourages readers to actually engage with this information.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he doesn't just like present these historical reinterpretations, you know?
Right.
He provides tools to like actually engage with it deeper. At the end of each chapter, he's got these thought-provoking worksheets that really encourage you to like think critically about what you're reading.
Those worksheets really got me thinking.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like testing your knowledge. It was like making you think critically and confront your own biases. There's one that's even called How to Tell If You're Racist.
Yeah.
And the questions are so pointed, so cleverly crafted that you can't help but laugh.
I know.
Even as you're forced to confront like some uncomfortable truths about yourself.
Exactly.
And the society we live in.
It's that blend of humor and like sharp social commentary that makes his work so compelling. He tackles these like really heavy topics with wit and insight, making them accessible, but without shying away from their complexity.
It's like he's saying, let's have some real talk here.
Yeah.
But he does it in a way that's like inviting you in rather than shutting you down.
Right.
Which I think is so important, especially when you're discussing sensitive subjects like race and history.
And those worksheets aren't just about individual reflection.
Right.
They're designed to like spark dialogue, encourage further research, you know?
Yeah.
He wants readers to take this knowledge and engage with their communities to challenge the traditional narratives.
Yeah.
Have those sometimes difficult conversations.
He doesn't just want you to read the book.
No.
He wants you to become like an active participant in the process of uncovering and understanding history.
Yeah, exactly. Like his perspective on some really pivotal moments in history, like slavery, it really challenges how we conventionally think about things.
Okay.
You know, we often focus on the brutality of it and the fight for abolition. But Harriot goes deeper, exploring the economic system that was underpinning it all.
So it's like he's peeling back the layers
Yeah.
to expose like the roots of the problem.
Exactly.
He's saying that slavery wasn't just a moral failing. It was a deliberate system of economic exploitation that fueled the growth of American capitalism.
And by connecting those dots,
Yeah.
he's highlighting how the legacy of slavery isn't just confined to the past.
Right.
You know, it continues to shape the economic landscape today,
Yeah.
contribute to racial disparities in wealth and opportunity.
It makes you realize that to fully understand the present, we need to grapple with the complexities of the past.
Absolutely. And he applies that same insightful lens to the civil rights movement.
Okay.
We tend to focus on, you know, the iconic figures and the landmark legislation.
Right.
But Harriot highlights the countless individuals who worked tirelessly behind the scenes. The grassroots organizers who mobilized communities, push for change at every level.
He reminds us that the movement wasn't just about a few charismatic leaders.
Yeah.
It was a collective struggle.
Right.
Fueled by the courage and the determination of everyday people.
And even those iconic figures like Martin Luther King Jr. Are presented with more depth.
Okay.
You know, Harriot explores MLK's radical ideas about economic justice.
Right.
And his critiques of militarism, aspects that are often overshadowed by his message of nonviolence.
It's about recognizing the full scope of their vision.
Yeah.
Understanding that their fight for equality went beyond just ending segregation.
Right.
They were pushing for a fundamental restructuring of society. a dismantling of the systems that perpetuate inequality.
And then there's Reconstruction.
Oh, yeah, Reconstruction.
A period so often portrayed as a failed experiment in racial equality.
Yeah, the narrative I remember was that it was doomed from the start.
Right.
That it was too idealistic and faced too much resistance to succeed.
Right.
But Harriot challenges that whole interpretation.
Yeah.
Arguing that Reconstruction had the potential to create a truly just society.
Yes.
But it was deliberately undermined by white supremacists and a federal government that ultimately abandoned its commitment to Black equality.
He highlights the period's achievements. The establishment of Black schools and businesses, the rise of Black political leadership. He paints this picture of Black agency and community building.
Right.
But he also exposes the systematic efforts to dismantle that progress.
Okay.
You know, the rise of the Ku Klux Klan,
Right.
the implementation of Black codes, the withdrawal of federal troops from the South.
Wow.
These weren't just isolated incidents.
Right.
This was a concerted effort to roll back the gains of Reconstruction.
So it's a reminder that progress isn't linear.
No.
And that the fight for justice is ongoing.
It is.
And speaking of ongoing struggles,
Yeah.
he tackles this myth of a post-racial America.
Oh, yeah.
A notion that gained traction after Obama's election.
Right. We've got a Black president. We're good now.
Exactly. He challenges us to look beyond that symbolism and confront the fact that systemic racism persists.
Yeah. Manifesting in voter suppression efforts, mass incarceration, and the ever-present racial wealth gap.
It's a wake-up call, urging us to acknowledge that electing a Black president didn't magically erase centuries of inequality.
Yeah.
He's calling for a deeper understanding of systemic racism and a commitment to dismantle those structures, not just celebrate these symbolic victories.
You know, I was particularly struck by his discussion of events like the Tulsa Race Massacre. A horrific event that I had never even heard of before reading this book.
Yeah, the destruction of Black Wall Street.
Yeah.
Such a stark example of racial violence and economic sabotage. A story that's been largely erased from our mainstream history.
And it's not an isolated incident.
No.
You know, he highlights the downplayed role of Black soldiers in major wars.
Right.
Their contributions often minimized or ignored. It's like he's filling in these missing pieces of the puzzle, revealing a more complete and accurate picture of American history. Absolutely.
One that includes the voices and experiences that have been systematically silenced.
He's kind of saying like, hey, there's a whole side to this story you haven't been told.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this book so important. It's not just about learning facts, you know?
Right.
It's about confronting these uncomfortable truths.
Yeah.
And expanding our understanding of what American history really is.
You know, one of the things that really resonated with me was how he weaves his own, like, personal anecdotes and reflections throughout the book.
Right.
It makes the historical analysis feel so much more real.
Yeah.
So much more human.
Absolutely. It's not just like a dry recounting of events.
Right.
He brings his own experiences as a Black man living in America into the conversation. And it adds this layer of depth and vulnerability that makes the history feel more immediate, more relatable.
Like when he talks about growing up in the South and witnessing the lingering effects of segregation, or when he shares stories about his family and how they navigated a society that was built on racial inequality.
It's those personal touches that make the history come alive.
It reminds us that history isn't just about dates and names.
No.
It's about people, their lives, their struggles, their triumphs.
And by sharing those personal stories, he invites us to connect with the material on a deeper level to see the human faces behind the historical events.
It's like he's saying, this isn't just some abstract concept from the past.
Right.
This is about real people who lived, loved, fought, and died in a system that was designed to oppress them.
And that's why understanding Black history is so crucial.
Yeah.
It's not just about the past.
Right.
It's about understanding the present and shaping a better future.
It's about action.
It is. It's about recognizing the systemic injustices that continue to plague our society and working to dismantle them.
It's about acknowledging the contributions, the resilience, the creativity of Black Americans throughout history, and recognizing their rightful place in the American narrative.
You know, as you continue your journey through this Goddess Garden Book Chat Challenge, I want you to keep this perspective in mind.
Okay.
Look for those untold stories, those hidden truths. those voices that have been marginalized or silenced.
Right.
Because by expanding our understanding of history, we can challenge the dominant narratives and create a more inclusive and equitable society.
So to our Goddess Garden Book Chat friends,
Yes.
as you finish Black AF history, take a moment to reflect on what you've learned.
Yeah.
How has this unwhitewashed perspective shifted your understanding of American history?
Good question.
And how can you use this knowledge to engage in meaningful conversations and actions that contribute to a more just and equitable world?
Remember, history is not just about the past.
Right.
It's about the choices we make today.
Yeah.
And the future we build together.
I love that.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Keep reading, keep learning, and keep those conversations going.